Today we are diving into a topic that's ripe with opportunity. Kenya's avocado export market. As you may know, Kenya's diverse avocado varieties are gaining traction globally, and the numbers speak for themselves. Exports have surged, and they are only set to climb higher. One of the key innovations propelling this growth is the establishment of avocado cloning facilities right here in Kenya. I had the incredible opportunity to visit the first avocado cloning facility in East and Central Africa, where cutting-edge techniques are being utilized to enhance fruit quality and yield. So what are the advantages of acquiring cloned avocados? Join me as we explore the world of avocado cloning and uncover how this exciting development is shaping the future of agriculture in Kenya. Let's get started. Hello and welcome to yet another exciting episode of Kilimo and Biashara show. Remember, this is a show that brings you different types of farming methods and all the emerging trends in the agribusiness world. And speaking of emerging trends, I don't know whether this is an emerging trend or this is just what's happening in the country right now. Through technology, farmers have been able to increase their yields, and today we want to explore cloned avocado technology. And through this, many farmers have been getting into the tech world, in the agribusiness world. And today, let's explore that. You've been eating your avocados, but do you know whether they are disease resistant? Yeah? We have to find out from the experts. So, let's go. Kaiser.
Hi Linda.
Hello.
When did you get here?
I just got here.
Fantastic. I like your overalls.
Thank you.
Next time you should get me a pair.
I should, yeah?
Yeah.
Now tell me about this. I see there's avocado, but I don't know. Now, am I safe to say which variety is this?
Correct. Yeah, so this is actually our Hass variety, but we have up to 10 different varieties in this mother block. Each one has a specific purpose. So we have both fruit stock varieties. So Hass is an example of a fruit stock, and we have rootstock varieties. And the whole secret or the special thing that we're doing in our nursery is we are actually experts, and we're the first nursery that is cloning rootstocks.
We'll get deeper into the cloning bit, but now you've talked about the fruit stock and the rootstock. So what's the difference? What does it mean, especially for a common one, I need you to understand?
So rootstock is basically everything which is below the graft and in the ground, and that's where you get your disease resistance properties from, your yield properties from, and any other properties such as salinity tolerance and frost tolerance. Those are all given to the plant by the rootstock, and it's basically the part of the plant that forms the roots. The fruit stock is everything above the graft, and basically this is all the foliage, and that's what gives you the variety and the quality of the fruit that you harvest. And a very well-known example in Kenya is Hass.
So you've said there are 10 varieties. Is it 10 varieties of Hass? Because for us, I know about Fuerte, Hass, the common ones, but now 10 varieties of what?
We have 5 different varieties of rootstocks. So all of these varieties give different traits and performance metrics to the farmer in terms of yield, in terms of phytophthora tolerance, which is a very important characteristic worldwide now for the avocado industry, salinity tolerance like I mentioned, and frost tolerance. The fruit stock varieties that we have are also 5, so Hass and Fuerte are 1 or 2 of the varieties, but now we have new novel varieties which are patented varieties which we've bought for the first time, and we're availing them to Kenyan farmers. And these give them additional advantages such as different times of fruiting, so you can market your fruit at different times of the year. Not only when the prices are low, you can actually target a specific window, as well as different qualities of the fruit itself, like oil content and taste profile.
So with this technology, you have to modify everything at a particular stage?
Yeah, so the whole idea is that there's varieties which have been tested, and these are natural varieties that are found in the wild, but they've been identified for specific features. So for the rootstocks, they've been tested for over 25 years, and these mother trees that we have in here have been identified as being high yielding and disease resistant. And that's why we use them, and that's why we have to clone them and not use seed from them, because we have to actually make sure that the plant or the seedling that is derived from the mother tree is genetically identical and is able to pass those benefits on to the farmer.
Well, we'll talk about the nitty-gritties later on, but you said there's mother stock.
Sure.
And you told me there's someone who can speak about it?
Definitely, definitely.
Okay, we can have him. Well, in technology, there's always a beginning, and here is the beginning of cloned avocado variety. Starts from the Zion, but now we have to get this from the expert. I have John here. John, introduce us. There's a lot of terminologies. There's fruit, there's stem, there's rootstock. Tell us about that.
Okay, thank you, Linda, for your question. I'll just have to show you just a practical example here, how we are going to harvest one of the signs from our rootstock from this mother block. Yeah, as I've seen, you have been talking about Kaisa, the past there. You told you we have approximately 4,000 trees here. So, but for this particular variety, we have around 360. So we'll just come here and show you what exactly we need to get the exact where we now take this scion back to the factory where I will go to do some grafting with it. So first of all, Linda, it's good to have hygiene, because this shamba of ours like to take hygiene very seriously. That you've seen there is some foot bath for the cardip. Now, before you handle any tree, you have to disinfect first your secateurs, your hands, and make sure it is clean from any disease. If you may hold this for me kindly. Okay. We are looking for good buds which have swollen well. They have not over mature, like they have opened up, but just swollen enough to get a good sprout. So if you can see this is too small. This is very little. If you graft this, you're not going to be able to get good shoots. If you look something like this, it's a bit swollen. You can get good buds and good shoots from the same.
So the trick is it has to be swollen.
The trick, it has to be at the right age, not too small. It will not give, it will give you thin shoots, and not too big because it will be over matured. Yeah. So I'll have to look for at least 3 good buds which you can harvest. Yeah, I don't want to take one because chances will be minimal for shooting. I don't want to take a lot because it will be wastage. So I'll just pick maybe the first 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'll just cut from here. Then I'll pick it up. So I'll have to give it enough room for grafting, the way they're going to do some cutting. So I'll just cut like this, give these leaves separately. And then you have a very good bud for grafting. Yes, this is now called the scion. Yes.
So that is I'm ready for grafting.
If you're ready for grafting, let's go.
Let's go.
Yeah, let me show you.
And now to where the magic happens. We are done with the plant itself, right in the farm, and this is another area where the technology really happens, cutting edge technology. And remember, we harvested this with John in the farm. Well, we'll know what will be done to it, but before that, Kaiser, I would love to hear your story. Even before we talk about the cloning bit, how did you decide this type of market is ripe for Kenya, because it's a unique venture?
This journey actually started about 8 years ago when we were looking into the avocado sector, and we realized that there is a major sleeping giant which is an issue in the sector, which is root rot, and that is caused by Phytophthora. If you see historically, most of the avocado industries in the world have faced a massive crisis because of Phytophthora, and that's where these rootstocks that we are now cloning have been developed to deal and fight with Phytophthora. So when we were looking at what the sector is doing, especially in the avocado nursery sector, we realized that there was no real supplier, local Kenyan supplier of these rootstocks. And we started the journey to actually explore, first of all, how can we get these varieties? How can we be licensed to produce these varieties? And it was a bit of a journey to get that in place. We have now gotten that in place. We've got licenses on the 4 different rootstock varieties which I was mentioning to you. And we also are the first and only clonal nursery in East and Central Africa to be able to actually produce those varieties and give farmers the assurance that they will get the right level of yields. We've proven that we're able to get up to 40% higher yields. We've proven that we're able to improve disease resistance, which reduces tree failure rates from somewhere between 40 to 35%, which we're seeing in most farms, all the way down to 5%. So we get up to a 95% success rate on the trees and establishment, which gives farmers a much better success and much higher revenues. Because this is a long-term crop, it's supposed to give the farmer production for up to 25 years, and the tree should survive for up to 25 years and give the farmers the return on investment.
I know at the initial stages, did you have the resources for it? Because I can imagine a lot has to go into preparation.
So we kind of had to develop a lot of the processes ourselves, and that's what took us, I think it has taken us about 4 years to develop the process. It's a 12-step process. Globally, there's probably only 7 nurseries in the world that can do cloning of avocados, and we are proud to call ourselves one of them.
Kaiser, now I'm ready to graft and also learn about the cloning process. And if you're just joining us, today we are diving into the world of cloned avocado technology. If you've never heard about that, then don't go too far. Let's stay here. Kaiser,
Yes.
I've held this thing for so long. Now, can we graft?
Thank you. Yeah, this is exactly what I was looking for. Thank you very much. So this, I believe you just harvested this with John from our mother trees.
Yes.
This is the scion for our rootstock, and what we're going to do is to start off with, we're just going to graft this onto the nurse seed. Like I said, this is what we are making sure is completely virus free first, and then we will put on the rootstock.
And which variety is that?
This is just a local kienyeji variety,
Ah,
but again we have to make sure, and we have a team that goes out and tests that they are also disease free. Because this is what supports the plant throughout the cloning process. Great, so we just need to make a small cut here. And then we have the process of just preparing this. So typically we have to just carefully make a cut. I'm sure a lot of our growers will be familiar with this process, also from previous shows of yours, but bear in mind this is just the beginning.
yeah.
So where most of the nurseries are actually stopping is just the beginning of our process. And of course next step is just to prepare this so that it can be attached to the mother plant. So that should fit in. There we go. And then, yeah, it's very simple, straightforward process. We can actually just tie it up, make sure it stays in place. Once this is attached, we will take you to the next, rather almost the final process, just to show you how the whole stage or how the plant progresses in the cloning process, and what is the importance of using clonal rootstocks and why they've actually revolutionized the avocado industry globally. We feel that that can also happen in Kenya.
Okay, let's go to the other side.
Let's go.
Yeah. So what happens here?
Sure, so we have a lot of stages. We have 12 stages. You remember we started with the humble rootstock scion. If you remember, we had just come from putting that onto the plant here. And the secret ingredient, or our secret process is actually to make that produce roots. So this is where, like you said, the magic happens. Once we've got good roots, then we know that these are genetically identical roots to the mother tree. And we know that those mother trees, because they've been patented and registered, we know that they're able to deliver certain results in terms of yield, in terms of disease resistance, and also salinity tolerance.
Kaiser, you know, it's mind-blowing just to see a stem producing roots.
That's really what took us a lot of time. That's what took the 4 to 5 years of R&D. If you want, I can even cut it and I can actually show you that there's roots in there.
By all means.
Shall we do that?
Yes.
So that's where we put on, if you remember, we had grafted the rootstock variety, which is a specific variety. This is now produced roots up here, and actually it's also been grafted with a Hass variety on top here. So you've got clonal roots and you've got the clonal fruit stock. So we can take this off, and I will show you very quickly how this has produced roots.
Whoa, the roots are out.
So that's actually our secret. We're able to produce roots from a cutting, from a stem of a plant, and these are clonal roots now. And you can see they're very nice, white and healthy, very prolific on the tree as well, which is exactly what we want. This will now go into the large potted bag and will be grown into a fully functional tree that can be planted by a grower in Kenya or East Africa.
And now this is cloning.
This is cloning. So this is cloning of rootstocks. So this is exactly what we do here, and that's what we do different to other nurseries, not only in East Africa, but mostly in the world as well.
Now I'm seeing that there is another level of grafting. How many times do you have to graft this plant?
So we've grafted it twice now. So we've also grafted on the fruit stock variety, which will give you the quality, the right quality of fruits. For example, your Hass variety or your Fuerte variety.
So tell me about the management practices, because I know at this level there's a lot that is happening.
For us, we make sure that all of our planting material is properly handled. All of our tools are sterilized properly. Our facilities are properly sterilized on a regular basis. For the grower, I think there's very basic principles of farm and orchard hygiene that growers can implement. And that will go a long way actually to prolong the life and increase the productivity, and also reduce your expenditure on fungicides and other chemicals. So making sure that you sterilize your secateurs every time you move between each tree, making sure that your farm workers are also sterilizing their tools, their gumboots. These are kind of practices that farmers and growers can implement to make sure that they're reducing the amount of strain that they have on the orchard.
And now back to the plant, how long does it take? What's the duration before this gets to an off-taking period?
So, of course, we take a little bit longer to produce the trees, but once the tree is in the ground, it's the standard 2 to 3 years to start your first fruiting production, and then thereafter you should enjoy 20 to 25 years of commercial production.
So I've noticed that there are sticks right there, and all of them are white. Is there a reason for that?
So these are stakes to support the tree and make sure that it is growing straight, so that the farmer gets a very good, straight, strong stem on the seedling.
I actually saw stems in the farm that are white.
Correct. So we paint the stems also to prevent sunburn, because these plants are in a very nice, happy, comfortable environment. Once they get out into the field, they face the full blast of the sun. So we also do that for our growers, just to make sure that the trees are able to establish very well. And we've enjoyed an establishment rate of up to 95%.
I've noticed it's soilless media, but also as you speak to us about that, how is it in terms of consumption of water? Is it a heavy consumer?
It really depends on your soil type. You are correct, this is a soilless media that we're using. We're using a mix of different components, again also to enhance the root formation. In terms of water consumption in the orchard, it depends on how free draining your soil is. But typically we say it's about at a fully peak orchard, fully peak production orchard, you will be consuming about 10,000 liters per acre per day.
But now from here, what's the next step? How long does it take before a farmer can actually come and purchase this from your farm?
Sure. So from this point we will need to harden it off in our hardening facility. It's a separate facility. It can go anywhere from 4 to 7 months for hardening, depending on what the farmer wants or what the grower wants in terms of the specification.
So what are those specifications that a farmer can request you to perform?
You can request based on tree height, you can request based on the stem diameter and the number of leaves for your tree. We can customize based on all of those parameters if the grower wants.
What's that advantage between a farmer who has indigenous and these cloned ones?
So cloning basically guarantees that the variety that you're using is genetically identical to, or the rootstock that you have is genetically identical to the mother plant. Now these mother plants have not been developed by us, they've been developed by international bodies, international universities as well, over 40 years. So they've had to observe specific varieties, and actually from that they found that certain varieties of rootstocks are high yielding, so some varieties are up to 40% higher yields. Certain varieties are able to tolerate diseases in the soil, and you'll be surprised, a lot of our soils in Kenya, because of the clay content, are susceptible to root rot. So it's important to look at these two factors, because the amount of investment growers are putting in is the same. We're putting in irrigation, fertilizer, chemicals, labor. Why not plant a variety that is going to give you more returns for the amount of money that you're putting into your farm?
Can this variety grow anywhere, this cloned variety?
So we have varieties which are tailored for different conditions. So one variety that we have is tailored for more heavy clay soils. Some of the soils that you find in Eldoret or you find in Rumuruti have a higher clay content. We advise farmers to plant those. We have other varieties that are tailored to saline soils. So soils or irrigation water that has a lot of salt in it, they're able to withstand that actually, and they're able to produce in that. So more of the coastal soils which have salinity, or the borehole, the irrigation water has salt in it, we would recommend those varieties. Then we also have varieties which are frost tolerant, so higher altitude farms, we would recommend those because frost can actually kill your whole crop. And then finally we have varieties which are specifically for very high yields. So if you have a good draining soil, you can actually enjoy up to 40% higher yields by using these rootstocks. And like I said, your investment is the same, so your return on investment is going to be much higher.
I'm just wondering, is there a market for this, especially in the local market?
I think there definitely is a market. So there's two reasons why we feel like there's a market. Number one, we're seeing, unfortunately, a lot of farmers are losing their trees because we've seen this year we had a very heavy rain. And what that does is it promotes root rot in the soil. And if you plant it just on a seed variety, you're not sure if you're going to have a tolerant variety that you planted, and that's where we see up to 30% people have lost their trees, and that's a 30% loss in revenue. So we're encouraging farmers, even if you've already got an established orchard, you can actually fill your gaps in your orchard with our trees. If you're setting up a new orchard, it makes sense to start with a root rot tolerant variety, because you need that tree to last for 25 years. So the industry is going to be there for the long run. We feel like a lot of growers are starting to appreciate the qualities of clonal avocado rootstocks.
So how much do you sell this?
It depends on the variety that you want, but our starting price is at $10.50, which is about 1,400 shillings per tree, and that's a completely finished, hardened off tree. We've seen, like I mentioned, that the success rate is up to 95%. The highest spec, the highest range variety that we have on offer is at about 2,200 shillings. And again, that is giving you up to 40% higher yield and also more longevity and more survival based on its disease tolerance.
So even as we are concluding this, what's the future of this technology that you have here?
I think the future is very bright. There's a lot of new varieties. Also, we are developing 2 new varieties that have benefits in terms of salinity and even higher yields now. And there's still more varieties that are in the pipeline that we've got licenses on. We also have new fruit stock exciting fruit varieties that are coming in. One of them is called Gem and the other one is called Carmen. So these are able to give farmers a later crop, so you can actually supply your crop into the market when the prices are better. And also Carmen is able to give you 2 crops a year. So you're able to actually time the season much better as a grower, rather than supplying fruit into the market when everyone else in the world is supplying.
Thank you so much, Kaiser. We truly appreciate your time and sharing a lot with us. And thank you for being part of the show today. Remember, we warned you at the beginning of this show that this is a show that brings you all the emerging trends in the agribusiness world. And this facility is just one of a kind. It's actually the only one in East and Central Africa that performs avocado cloning. How about that? Well, be sure to join me again next week for another exciting episode of Kilimo na Biashara. My name is Linda Koskei. See you next Sunday.